Hey, what's up, everyone? Photographer Ronix from Honest Photography, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the best ways of how to do your eye whitening or how to whiten eyes in Photoshop, and also how to brighten eyes in Photoshop. So basically, this tutorial today is about how to brighten and whiten eyes in Photoshop. So there are two different things, that is whitening eyes and brightening eyes, and I'm going to be showing you guys the different methods, and be free to comment in the comment section with your best method for doing the eye whitening in Photoshop. So it is the same method you can use for the teeth whitening, so I'm going to be sharing with you guys all those methods. So first of all, what is eye we are first of all going to do eye brightening. So what is eye brightening? So basically, eye brightening is more of adding exposure or making those eyes really kind of pop the whites in the eyes, or increasing the exposure in the whites of the eyes. So for the eye brightening, first of all, you're going to be learning about the very first method, that is the method of using the curves adjustment layer in Photoshop. So first of all, we are going to start by duplicating the background layer by clicking Ctrl or Command J, then come to the adjustments right here, then come to curves. So remember, for eye brightening, we want to just increase or make the whites of the eyes, or make the whole eye kind of brighter. So we're going to make a midpoint after creating the curves adjustment layer. Click on a midpoint, yeah, and now drag it up until the eye is bright to where you want it to look like. So make sure the white mask is selected right here, then click Ctrl I or Command I to hide the effect. So when you hide the effect, you'll get a black mask instead of the original white mask that was created. Then come right here and make sure white is on the foreground. And if at all you don't have black and white right here, you can just click on these two boxes to reset back those white and black. So in order to get white on top, just toggle or click or press X on your keyboard to get white on top. Remember, we want to paint using a white brush on a black mask to reveal the effect we created using the curves adjustment layer. Remember, black hides and white reveals, so that's why we want to use a white brush to reveal the brightness of the eye. So come under the brushes, this is the normal brush tool. Make sure the opacity is you're going to use an opacity of 100 and the flow 100, so that you can see the effect it is going to make. So you're going to zoom into the eye like this, and now paint using a white brush on the eye. So you shouldn't worry if at all this is the effect is too much. Just don't mind about that, because I'm going to be sharing with you guys how that can easily be fixed. So just paint over the white area of the eye of the model. So if at all you accidentally paint on the area you don't want to whiten, I'm going to, if at all you accidentally paint on the area you don't want to brighten, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how you can delete that. So if at all you want to delete the effect from the iris of the model, come and get black on top and just paint over the area you want to delete the effect on. So I think that is fine. So you're going to just come to the opacity, because I feel that is really unnatural, and drop down the opacity so that it is brightened in a more natural way. So this is the image before after. Let me zoom out a little bit. So that's the before after, and the eyes have really brightened. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys the very second method. I think this method is not really effective enough for brightening eyes, because if at all you go wrong with the flow and opacity, you can really mess up everything. So I'm going to first of all show you this very same method again. So I'm going to delete that, so that we can use, if at all you don't want to turn down the opacity, and make sure you turn it down from right here and reduce it. Yeah, so let me show you guys what I'm trying to mean. Come right down here and create the curves as usual, like we did before. Make a midpoint and just slightly brighten that. So come the opacity of get your brush, sorry, come the opacity and just turn down the opacity to around, you're going to use around let's go for around 46. Make sure this right here is selected, the mask is selected. Click Ctrl or Command I, and make sure white is on the foreground. And now zoom into the white area of the eye and just paint over that white area of the eye. So basically this is eye brightening, it is not eye whitening. So there are two different things. So for the very first steps, you're going to be learning about the brightening, and that's what we are doing right now. So this is more of eye brightening. So you can just come and also enhance that if at all you want to give the eyes a more really popping feel to the eye. So this is eye brightening, sorry. So that's the image before after, before after. You can see we have just made the eye really brighter, like that. You can see before and after. But if at all you feel the effect is yet still too much for your liking, you can as well come to this opacity and knock it down to get a more natural feel of the eye. So you're going to delete that, and you're going to be learning about the very second method of eye brightening. Yeah, eye brightening. Come right to filter and come to camera raw filter. So for the camera raw filter, we are going to be using the adjustment brush to brighten the eye in Photoshop. So come and click on your adjustment brush, but I think for newer versions all these settings are on your right hand side. So when you click on that, I'm going to reset all these settings. I'm going to reset these settings. I'm going to reset, yeah. So after resetting them, remember we only want to brighten the eyes. So by brightening, we are going to first of all come to the exposure and pump it up a little bit. So we are more of setting up the brush so that we can just paint over the areas we want to brighten for this image. So just pump it all the way around 35. Then you're also going to enhance the highlights around 4 and the whites to around 4 too. So we're just going to paint over the areas we want to brighten, like that. We're just going to paint over those areas we just want to brighten. So basically we are first of all learning about eye brightening, and we shall later on go and learn about the eye whitening. So stay tuned as we learn those different methods. So after doing that, just come and click OK. So I forgot to tell you, you always have to create a new layer. It shouldn't work from your background, because after doing the eye brightening in camera raw, we want to get like a backup layer. So we are done doing the eye brightening in camera raw. So this is the image before after, and the eye is now really bright enough. So if at all you feel it is too much for your liking, just come the opacity and knock it down a little bit to your liking. So that is all about how to brighten eyes in Photoshop. So you're going to delete this layer like that, and you're going to learn about eye whitening. So by eye whitening, we basically mean a process whereby we are going to eliminate most of the colors in the white area of the eye. So those are like two different things. So for the brightening, we just pump up the exposure, and for the whitening, we eliminate the colors in the white area of the eye. So first of all, we're going to create a duplicate of the background layer by clicking Ctrl or Command J on our keyboards. Then come right down here and create a vibrance adjustment layer. So when you do that, come and first of all knock down the vibrance, and when you knock down the vibrance, you'll notice that the whole image is going to become kind of desaturated, and that is all we are going for. So as you desaturate this image, make sure you always look at the eye area, all the whites in the eye. So come the saturation too and also knock it down. I think this is really fine because we are eliminating the whites in the eye. So just knock down and also come and knock down these two like that. So close this by clicking right there. So like we did for the brightening, make sure this mask is selected, then click Ctrl or Command I on the keyboard to hide that effect. So make sure it is selected, the black mask is selected. Come and get your brush tool like that. And for this case, we are going to go for an opacity of around, let's go for around 50%. Click enter. Get your brush tool, make sure white is on or the foreground, and if at all you don't have all these black and white colors, just click right here to reset. And to get white on top, make sure you toggle or click or press X on the keyboard or click on these two arrows to toggle and get white on top. So zoom into the white area of the eye like that and just paint over that area to naturally whiten the eye. So this is more of eye whitening. And for what we are doing, of course, we all don't have really plain white eyes, so that's why we are leaving some colors in that particular white area of the eye of the model. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys this. So you can see we have now whitened the eye of the model in a more natural way. So that's the image before, after, before, after. Let me zoom in so that you can see the effect. So that's the image before, after, before, after, before, after. And if at all you accidentally paint or over the area you don't want to whiten, remember this is more of a desaturated kind of fill. So if at all you are painted over an area you don't want to whiten or desaturate, make sure a black mask is selected and get a black on top and just paint over that area you want to delete the effect from. So that is the first step of eye whitening. So you're going to come and delete this right here. Then we're going to delete the two layers. So the second method of eye whitening is going to be using the hue and saturation in Photoshop. So come and duplicate the background layer by clicking Ctrl or Command J and come right down here the adjustments and look for hue saturation. So like we did initially for the previous method for eye whitening, first of all come to the saturation and knock it down like that. So I'm just going to knock it not all the way down but just a little bit around 60%. Let's go for, I think let's go for 50. And now let's add, remember we want to eliminate the yellows in the eyes or the red, so let's just knock up to around, let's just knock it, you can see, let's go down to around, let's go to around, no, I think let's leave this to around -3. Then also let's try to increase the lightness because we want to hit two birds with one stone, because we want to as well increase on the brightness of the eye. So we are just going to be doing the eye whitening and the eye brightening all at the same time. So just increase on the lightness too. So close that and make sure this white mask is selected and just click Ctrl or Command I to hide the effect. And get your brush tool, make sure the opacity is at 50% and the flow 100%. Make sure white is on the foreground and when you make sure the white is on the foreground, just come and paint over the white area of the eye like this. Just come and paint over like that. Just paint over the white area of the eye like this. Just do paint over like that. So you can see we are basically trying to whiten. And when you're doing your eye whitening, make sure you don't paint over this area, because you're going to end up with an unnatural or unrealistic eyes and robotic eyes. So just paint over only the white area. So you can just come and make this pop too like that. So this is the second method for the eye whitening. So you can see the image before, after, before, after. You can see that. And if at all you feel you painted over the area you didn't want to whiten, make sure you get black on top, and now just delete over or paint over the area you don't want the effect to be applied on. So that's the image before, after, before, after. So remember, the first method we learned about was using the vibrance adjustments in Photoshop. Then the second method was using the hue and saturation tool in Photoshop. So for a third method, we are going to be learning about the camera raw method in Photoshop. So if at all you don't have the camera raw plugin in Photoshop, you can use the very first two methods. That's using the vibrance. Then the second method, that is using the hue and saturation method. So for this very method, we are going to be using camera raw, and as usual, you have to first of all get a backup for before applying that. So come and create a backup, because we want to adjust the opacity or reduce on the effect from the backup layer. And if at all you are doing maybe frequency separation, first of all create a stamp visible layer for your all you have done, and click Ctrl or Command J on the keyboard to have a backup. So for this image, you're just going to click Ctrl J on the keyboard. Then you're going to come to filter and come to camera raw filter. So come and look for your adjustment brush, or you can just press K on the keyboard. So this is the adjustment brush. So we are going to make sure we reset it to the default. Remember, we had initially used it before. So make sure, remember, we have, let me zoom in to the eye like this. Remember, we have color in, we have yellows in the white area of the eye. So we first of all have to, before I can do that, get your adjustment brush tool. Remember, we have yellows in the white area of the eye, and in order to eliminate those yellows, you can see on the temperature slide that the opposite of yellow is blue. So we have to go towards the blue side. I'm just going to go extreme for this tutorial, -29. Then we are also going to add some little bit of tint, because it really adds that kind of redness effect to the image, and it brings out that naturalness in the white area of the eye. So I'm just going in for some kind of magenta. So I'm going to go in for around 70 for the magenta. Then I'm going to move all the way down to my highlights. I'm going to put the highlights at 4, because I want the eyes to pop as well. And I'm also going to pump up my whites to around 5. Then remember, we have color in the white area of the eye, and in order to remove the color from the white area of the eye, what we are going to do, we are going to turn down the saturation to remove the color. So we are not yet painting over the eye area, we're just setting up our adjustment brush so that we can just paint over the white area of the eye. So we're going to go all the way. I'm going to go for around 72. I think we are done setting up the adjustment brush for our eye whitening. So we are going to just paint over the white area like that. Then I also forgot to tell you, you can increase or decrease on your size of the adjustment brush by just simply using the left and the right brackets on the keyboard to decrease or increase on the brush size. I think this is okay. So you can as well eliminate that yellowness in that part of the eye. So you can as well whiten this beautiful catch light. So let's see what we have done so far. So that is what we have done. So if at all you feel it is too blue or unnatural, just come and pump up the temperatures to your liking. Just click OK. So this is more of the third method of eye whitening in Photoshop. So that is basically the image before, after, before, after. You can see what it has just made with just painting over the adjustment brush. So that they use the advantage of using the adjustment brush tool in Photoshop for eye whitening is because you can set it up once, and every time you open up your adjustment brush tool, the settings will always be there. So you can use the very same methods for the teeth whitening in Photoshop. So for whichever method I use, for example, for the eye brightening, you can use it for brightening teeth in Photoshop. And for the methods I used for the teeth whitening, you can also use them for uh, uh, teeth and eye whitening in Photoshop. So this has been a story about eye brightening and eye whitening in Photoshop. And you can feel free to leave a comment in the comment section about the best method you have preferred or you're going to be working with for your eye and teeth whitening in Photoshop in the comment section below. So give me feedback in the comment section about the best method you have chosen for your eye brightening or your eye whitening in Photoshop. I'm Ronix from Ronix Photography, and I hope you love this tutorial. And don't forget to like this video, drop a comment in the comment section, and above all that, don't forget to subscribe this channel because your subscription really matters to me, because I keep on growing and becoming bigger, and you also learn so much from me. I'm Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet another retouching tutorial on this channel. And don't forget to keep creating and practicing.